off the sidewalk, swans on down the asphalt. Reality is ending, the pain is never ending. Can you see me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Breakdown with Six Scars. I am joined tonight by my guest, Geo Stough of the deck of many bands from the indie community, as some of you may know. So, Geo, go ahead and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So, one of the things I was really interested in when you told me that you wanted to be on this was you said you had a lot of input as far as mental health goes. But before we get to that, I wanted to know how music became such a big part for you, because clearly it has directed a lot of your life.
Well, I can actually answer both questions with the same kind of answer. My entire life has been ruled with music. Starting with my background, I am half Latin. My mom is from Panama, so there's a heavy, not understanding, underestimating or understating heavy influence of music in that culture. I grew up surrounded by it. And from the very beginning, there was a connection between music as a storyteller, in as much as it was a guiding light to kind of teach you, what it was about or what you're about, and connecting that with dance and singing and communication. It was a teacher. The connection with me directly, I had a high school band. I knew at the time we weren't going anywhere. I have a voice that ever since it changed can put a corpse to sleep. So I knew.
I have to raise mine up, so I get it.
Yeah, I knew that I wasn't going to go anywhere. But I knew, and I could see in the people, our 4-member fan club at the time. I knew that it was making a connection, and I knew that it mattered at that point. And one of my deepest regrets was the day that we all graduated. And at almost the same exact time, we just kind of looked at each other and goes, well, that's it. We're done. And we went our separate ways, and never looked back. It's kind of a historical regret that has kind of haunted me my entire life. And it's just kind of taken that staircase up or down, to where it led me. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about, making another band to follow up with, or just not the same desire?
It's the desire for a connection, the desire for that level of communication or that connection never went away. And that's why I think as a voice actor, I think that's why I do what I do. I'll hit the grind and I'll do the 30-second, buy the avocados, they're on sale, in the hopes of working towards that, working to that ultimate goal of getting to the position where I can actually tell a story. I can make a connection, and I think I missed my shot is what that has to do, is that it's gone. But it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because what it did was make room in my life for somebody to tell me their story. And it's, as time passed, it's in the position in the state that I was in. That's what it took. It took finding somebody that would tell me their story, the music that I would hear. That brought that passion back, and kept that connection going, and brought back every memory, good, bad, and otherwise, of what that felt like. And it gave me a purpose. And that's why I'm here today.
That's really awesome. I didn't know you were a voice actor. That's always been a huge dream of mine as well, and I just never got into it.
Well, in the community that we're in, especially with the people that surround us and how we met, nobody really hears the voice, but they can see the sarcasm. And I am notorious for being a supplier of sarcasm, and it's because nobody ever, it's very rare. I don't know if you understand how paralyzing my stage fright is. It's
I understand.
Yeah,
It's something I've recently,
I did the math today. It has been exactly 4.5 years since I've been on camera.
Oh, wow.
And, the voice, I'll be on microphone, but it's 4.5 years last week that I've ever had a camera on my radio face. So.
Well, truly, thank you. That means the world to me that you've opened up this way already, because I know for me, stage fright is something that I still have to overcome every day. I have a lot of what I call physical flaws, and I'm not necessarily the best on camera compared to some of the people that you'll see, but it's something I felt was so important that, I wanted to make a podcast where it's not just messages behind a 30-second clip where people just share it around and they think that's what a definition of something is, or that's how you overcome things. I'm not saying it can't do that, but I feel like, there's a need for something so much more raw and vulnerable and actually eye-opening. And so just, from the bottom of my heart already, I thank you for giving me that. That means the world to me.
Oh, absolutely. It's, like I said, when we were making our plans, the message is too important. And it got to the point, speaking directly with mental health and, specifically the phobias, the message is too important. It's, I'm not offering a TikTok cure. I'm not a therapist. All I can be, aside from deaf, is a resource. I can't promise to solve somebody's problem, but I can promise that I'll be there. I will listen. I will do what I can. I have an army behind me.
Oh, that's so cool.
At your disposal.
That is
for anybody that needs me. So, and yeah, all the way up to, where am I? All the way up to my sepsis star. And a lot of credit goes to sepsis. My band out of New England, not my band, but.
No, I'm familiar with them.
The band
they're amazing.
Yeah. And, I give them all the credit for where I am, because I honestly believe that without them finding me when they did, I wouldn't be here. It was dark. I was in a dark place, and it's them specifically. But more generally, it's the independent music scene, that passion that refocused me, replanted me. And I owe you guys a debt. And that's what I'm doing.
Well, we owe you, though, because you went out of your way. You started this entire deck of the many bands, I believe is the exact title of it. Is that what it is?
The deck of many bands, exactly.
The deck of many bands, exactly. And what is it? 92 cards
per series? It's 92 cards per series. And every time I get a band that wants in. Every band.
Oh man, I wasn't gonna ask to see it.
They are my pride and joy. They came out so much better than I ever expected. As far
They're
as
beautiful.
the sizing and the color and the texture and just the feel of these. But more importantly, it was that source of the search. Every band I talked to directly, I was looking for permission to listen to their music. And this was a way of saying thank you for that, because it gave me that exploration of just going out on purpose and discovering this incredible community and this incredible music that I never thought was going to get as big as it did. I mean, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
This is international. and it slowed down a little bit with Series 2. I'm almost there. But every time a band contacts me and says I want in, I go, you're in. So it's a beautiful thing. But the reason I built the deck was to give people the opportunity to have the same resource that I did of giving that, kind of bizarre way, but giving that chance of just discovering that song they needed to listen to, that sound they needed to hear, because you never know where it's going to come from. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Absolutely. So, kind of want to go back a little bit. You said that sepsis found you and it was in a really dark place. Are you wanting to open up a little bit about that now, or do we want to just kind of baby step into that?
I can do both.
Are you sure? No pressure.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no pressure. Twist my arm. I'm on camera. Sure.
No. Again, this can all be edited, so
No, it's fine. I don't expect any edits because it's just the way it is. My story doesn't change. It started, and what it is hold on. There we go. What it is I was actually online, just putzing around on Twitch, getting drunk. I was playing marbles. I don't know if anybody, knows or knows what that game is. But I was getting drunk on a night that I had just gotten in a fight with my wife. And very dark, very, very bad fight. And I had decided that it was time for me to go. So I was playing marbles because basically it was just a game of gravity. It sends you where you're going to go. Whether you win or lose, you're just kind of at the mercy of everything that goes around. And that's kind of where I felt I was. I wasn't in control. And it got to a point that it was just a matter of, granted, I'd just come in last in the race, which didn't help matters. But it was, I thought at the time that the world didn't need me, and it was time to just make room for somebody that did. And it was at that moment, literally to the second, that sepsis jumped into this Twitch session and said hello. And I decided to click on their link and see what they were about. And I heard their song, is You Already Know. And it was amazing to me, the passion coming from this little girl's voice of such wise words, an older song, but wise thinking of already know how people are going to turn out before, when you meet them. You get this inner voice of what they're going to do to you, what you're going to do to them, how much they matter or don't. And that provoked more exploration. of, listening to their music and going deeper. And that was it. That music showed me a motivation that I remembered when I was doing it. And I'm like, okay, they're where I used to be. I can travel this road again, through their eyes, and offer, my wisdom when they want it, to see where this passion was supposed to go. And it gave me a purpose to watch over them, because I know the mistakes I made. And I wasn't going to let that happen to somebody else. So I went from being done to being a self-appointed guardian angel. And I haven't looked back. I support them. I talk to them. I offer my sarcasm. They introduced me to a world of independent bands. And it brought me to where I am, with a dedication, a focus, a passion of offering my help to anyone that asks. Because just as much as making a difference to just one person, whether I know them or not, the idea of making a difference to one person makes it all worth it. It makes me worth it. And it's a debt that I will pay. I'm not going anywhere.
Wow. You sent goosebumps up my arms. I mean, it's almost like you're a real life Batman. You became the silent guardian in a way. No. I mean, all joking aside, but I mean, that's a beautiful transition to go from, because I know when I've been in my lowest points, very similar to you, where I just kind of felt like the world didn't need me. And you get to that point where you're trying to find a way to make all the inner pain or outward pain just fade away. And you turn to all these different vices. I would drink a lot. I did a lot of drugs back in the day. Look, like, but I'll be candid. This is 100% me. That's all I can be. And it took, in a similar fashion, it took finding different bands that inspired me when I was still a teenager. 16, 17, 18 years old. But those are, I think, some of your most formative years, as far as how your brain gets settled in. And if you tell yourself from, I think, a younger age that, this is kind of the way it is, it's hard to get out of that mentality, just as it is when you get older too. And for me, much like you finding an independent band, mine was Carbon Stone. I found them in 05 and 06, and it was at such a pivotal moment in my life where I can remember listening to them for the very first time. And I remember I had a beer in my hand, and I was sitting on the edge of, I was sitting on the edge of a little rooftop, and it was their song, A Simple Smile. And it was on YouTube, and I had a little laptop that I was looking at it. And I had all intentions of just going away, like you said. Unfortunately, can't use the trigger words on lot.
Exactly. Exactly.
But just going away, and I heard that song, and then I don't think it was necessarily the song. His voice resonated with me, and then I went on their MySpace and I found other songs of theirs that did resonate with me. And then just like, from them, I remember the same day I found 10 Years, and they became one of my all-time favorites. And all these bands have saved me in so many ways. And it's really, really cool to get to talk to somebody who has had a similar, but yet, obviously paralleled experience from what I've gone through, and where you said that, you know, you kind of became a guardian angel, like that sent shivers up my spine, because in a way that's kind of what I want the message to be for this is, you know, you, for me, and perhaps you're different, but I know I can't get rid of the thoughts of going away. I don't think I'll ever be able to. That's just how my mind is. But I don't think we need to run away from it either.
No, you don't. And, you know, not to cut you off.
No.
You know, the issue isn't so much the pain. The pain is going to happen. Life is here to kick your ass. There's no denying that. You know, there's no
Absolutely.
other purpose that it serves. The strength of character, the decision that you make throughout your life, the choices, good, bad, doesn't frickin' matter. It's, you have to get to a point within yourself, and this is going to touch on something that's really, really close to me too. The choices that you make aren't necessarily for you. They're supporting or denying or shattering or creating a mask. And the mask is a stigma. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I believe. It's not necessarily a bad thing because it will give you strength. My alter ego, Video Goth, is the sarcasm machine. He is not a nice person. He grew up with me, torturing me. And it was that stereotypical voice in your head that had decided that I didn't matter to him. And it took music to give me the strength to tell him to go to hell. I gave him a job and I made him a clown. And every time he gets laughed at, I get a little bit stronger. And he'll have his moments. He'll get back at me. But I've grown to know that I make my own decisions. It's, you know, my purpose isn't necessarily for me anymore. I have my wife, I have my kids, I have my grandchildren, and I have a legacy now. And it has nothing to do with me directly. It has to do with what I can leave somebody else. And, you know, I agree with you. I don't think the thoughts will ever go away. But as long as, especially guys, but as long as people know that there are people they can talk to, then I think it can be productive, and I think that we can save a legacy. And you know, that's what got me thinking when you brought up the podcast. That's what got me thinking, and that's what got me passionate, because I will not let anybody make the same mistake I made. And I can get combative, and you know, I can unleash Vid. And he has, you know, the running joke with sepsis. He has Shakespearean rage, and a lexicon that will destroy your mental state. And I can use that to destroy the funk that you're in. And you know, that's his job now. He hates me for it, but I don't care. You know, it's, you know, I'm here for them, and I'll use my tools. And I've got a really big deck.
I mean, absolutely. And, you know, we'll follow back up with Video Goth, because I find that to be very interesting as well. But something you said that, it doesn't get talked about a whole lot is, especially men, they tend to feel a little bit more alone than some, and that's a stigma for a lot of men to say anymore, because it seems to be all the rage about men not really needing help anymore. And to me, that is the most perverse and sick thing that you could teach men of this world anymore, because this world, I am a firm believer that the world we are raised to believe in and be a part of, it no longer exists. It changes so rapidly and quickly, and there's so many people, not just men, but there's so many men that do feel alone, because when you're raised, you're told to be a certain way, you're told to act a certain way, and then when the world kind of chews you up and spits you out unforgivingly, it's really important for men to know that there is a place for them to go and to be heard without judgment and without prejudice. And that's why I honestly started this, was because I could listen to 1,000 different mental health podcasts and things like that, but I wanted to discuss from my point of view, where I've not always felt like there's a place for me to go that I wouldn't be judged, because often in the world, when you are a man, or if you're attempting to put on that brave face, people dismiss you, if that makes sense. They look at you and they're like, oh, it's just a phase. It's you'll have your moments and you'll be done with it in no time. You just have to trust the process. And it's like, you know what? Fuck the process sometimes.
Yeah.
Excuse the language.
Society, No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. It's society as a whole has created a situation that contradicts itself. The world has created in for man specifically, nothing, not disregarding anything else, but for man specifically, the world has created a situation and an image and a societal role that perpetuates the biggest lie a man could ever tell. And the biggest lie that a man can ever tell is when they look at somebody else and say, I am fine. It's bullshit. Because we are not allowed, in our role, we are not allowed to cry, to go to the center of the mosh pit and hug. There's a lot of things that society has put in place, and they are changing. I will give it that. But it's been a long time where the world says, no, you're a guy, you're on your own. You're bred to be the survivor. And my dad did that. I'm sure everybody's dad at some point did that. And it was, a hard lesson to crack that habit. And I think it creates the biggest problem, is that when you grow up in that atmosphere and you're told and it's pounded into you that you have to solve your own problem, that what it does is it drives you inward. It doesn't give you an outlet, and that creates a whole different set of problems. And it's the worst thing the world has ever done. And like you said, fuck the world.
Yeah.
It's they wanted a war. They got one now.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to fight for anyone.
Absolutely.
So.
And I mean, it's good to know that there's still people out there willing to do that fight openly, because there's so many people that will closet it, go out and be, oh, I support, mental rights, but only if it's for a specific thing. When it comes to, talking about men's rights, you honestly, and maybe it's just the feed that I have, but you don't see much, in my opinion. You don't see much about men needing to be lifted up and being told that, it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Like that,
Right.
that's an important thing. And like you said, when you have that kind of pounded into your head day in and day out, like this is what society expects you to be. It's a very hard characterization to break.
Yes. Yes.
And so to move on a little bit from that and go back to video golf, what intrigued me was you talked about it as an alter, and I do have borderline personality disorder, so I can kind of understand the meaning of alter, and I think it's really just really kick ass that you've taken what held you down and honestly made it your bitch.
Yeah, that's what it took, because he was destroying me. He was, his purpose. If nothing else, this will get me emotional. His purpose was to isolate me. And this goes way back. I've had him next to me since I was 9. He was created out of childhood trauma, and he was born to be my protector. But he took it to an extreme, and he wanted to shut me off from the world at all cost. And for a while, I let him, and I became very dark, and I became very scary because he was in control. And it took me a long time to fight my way out of that. It puts the lotion in the basket. It took me a long time to yeah. It took me a long time to fight my way out of that dungeon and take back over. And it's he has been a knight. He has been a warrior. He has been a king. He has been a teacher. He has been a clown. At times, he would allow me to laugh at some of the dumbest things, in the world. But what I came to realize, that he was making me laugh at other people's pain. And I wasn't going to do that. It's, he is the ruler of a dream world. And, the peace treaty that we have going on right now is that he can have the thoughts, but I control the dream. And he was tricked because now he's the clown again, and he's lost his control. And so my role is now the guy in charge, and my job is to get him laughed at, because the less power he has, the more is given to me. And I don't know if I can ever survive without him, because he carried me, and I can't deny that. But he will never have that much control over me again. It's how serial killers are born, and I can't go there. I've never liked that aspect of him, and I won't allow it. I'm here to help somebody. I don't know who, but I'm here to help. And the power's mine again, and I'm proud of that. So
that's really amazing to hear. Like, as somebody who has had childhood trauma themselves, of different kinds, you I'm trying to think of the best way to word it. You split yourself, you splinter yourself to protect yourself. And I know for me, sorry, getting a little. I know for me, much in the same vein, the person that I hated being was also the one that brought me through so much of the darkness that I went through, because I had to become that to make sure I could survive. But then, much like in your sense, where it tried to completely take over me, and for years, for almost a decade, I'll even say it took full control. I was a dark, and I don't want to say evil, but just dark with no hope. And it's because in your mind, for me, I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me, it was fight or flight. And it was constant survival, which meant there was no time for let up. There was no time for breathing. It was just constant defensive. And that is so exhausting. It is so mentally draining. And the more I learn about, why we create our alters, it baffles me the way that it's so easy to let it slip, and then you just kind of can regress if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And I love
it's not so much the evil part of it. It's the protection from an outside view. Protection is evil because it's not allowing somebody who wants to take advantage of the situation in. That must be evil. The worst part about an altar, and it's not as extreme as I'm sure some people are thinking right now. The issue with an altar is that it eliminates empathy. It eliminates the ability. It eliminates the ability to care. And it's to come back to getting grounded. The music is the passion that creators provide to demonstrate their passion, to demonstrate what they care about. And in discovering music and hearing music and looking for music and finding that sound, you have shared something to care about, and you have refocused the passion that you have to protect yourself. Music is a wall that will protect you, but it's also a wall with a door. And it lets you not only lets that emotion back in, it lets you, more importantly, in my opinion, it lets you out. And with that, you can take that same message that saved you. You can take that same message and let somebody else hear it, because you'll never know that maybe that's the sound they needed to hear too. And that's why I'm here.
Wow. You keep giving me goosebumps over here with your answer, so I apologize for the delay. It's just,
you're fine.
It's hard to find people to connect with on that level where people understand what it's like to have alters and what that actually means. Because when people say alters, they automatically assume serial killer. They automatically assume the absolute worst, which let's be honest, it can be the absolute worst. Mental death is a whole other kind of death, in my opinion, that we all can experience. But just to know that, there's somebody who has felt similar things, for me, it's reassuring to know that what I've felt isn't isolated. And it's not just because I apologize. I get wrapped up in my head, and it's for a long time I felt isolated from the world, And even as Six Scars, you know, we talk about altars, and I think for me, any persona I put on is a form of an altar. Like you know, Six Scars is it's what helped bring me back a lot. It became the outlet I needed because I would. I apologize.
It became the fortress with a door.
Yes,
It gave you the way out.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it's if you're a comic book fan, you'll get the reference. But it became my fortress of solitude. It really did. It's where I go, where I can just scream my lungs out at the world that I feel has betrayed me at times. And I know without that, I would not be here. And so to hear another person's story resonate the way that music has with me in my life in a different fashion, it's for me, it's mind boggling. And to hear how you've, in a sense, you know, owned the altar within you, that gives me immense hope because I'm still struggling with that, to be transparent.
Give him a job. Make him the clown. Video Goth is in charge of my zombies. Video Goth is in charge of, you know, and to explain that, a zombie is those ideas in your head that never let you rest. You know, you'll get, no, I've got to write this song. I've got to write this lyric. I've got to write this note. I've got to write this. Zombies are those ideas that will never leave you alone. They sit there in your head and they just eat your brain. That's a zombie. That's
my apologies. My cat just decided to.
That's all right. My 15-year-old is locked in his room. A zombie is that idea that will not go away, and it just sits there and tortures you. I put Vid in charge of those. And the credit that I give him is he gave me the passion and the focus to make the deck. He's like, okay, fine. I'll give you your fucking music, but now you have to do something with it. Here's an idea. And he let a zombie loose. The deck was born. Give your altar, give that emotion that is torturing you, give that pain a purpose. I wrote lyrics a long time ago of you know, it was a letter to my daughter who was in her teenage years at the time, doing the teenage thing. And I told her, you know, because we were having an issue with Facebook, where I was seeing and hearing a lot of this emotional baggage being broadcast to the world. And it wasn't appropriate. So I wrote her a song about the darkest night. And the purpose of that was to try and show her that Facebook and social media and TikTok is not the place to collect pity. It is not the place to brag about how bad you feel. What it is was a redirect of telling her, and, you know, in the same vein of telling the world, if you hurt, what you need to do is give it a direction. If you feel that dark, paint a wall black. And every time you hurt, take a paintbrush with just white paint and put a dot on that wall. You know, it doesn't matter if you just do one or if you do multiple dots, but, you know, make the wall as big as you want. But every time you hurt, don't do anything but put one white dot on that wall. And as time passes and you make that fanatical, you make that your outlet, you'll look back in the years to come at this black wall with all these white dots and realize that without broadcasting it to the world to show how sad you are, to demonstrate, to illustrate how sad you are, you look at that fucking wall that caused you so much pain, and realize that over the time, you just filled a night sky with stars. And
Wow.
she did, and she's still doing it. She's 28 now. She brags about her galaxy, and that's every time you every time you make a dot, every time you create a star, you are creating an entire world of what saved you. And by the end of your life, you're going to have a universe surrounding you. And you've protected yourself by giving your pain a purpose. And it's for everyone to see. And that's what I'm doing. I don't have a black wall. And I can't, that's the worst I get. I make the cards. Yeah. It's not a podcast without a cat ass. It's fine.
I tried to lock them out, and I got one laying over here. The other just. I apologize for the cat ass.
No, the whole point of it is that when you are hurting the most, you are also the most creative your mind will let you be. Mm-hmm. Give it a purpose. Do not let it win. If it's a poem, if it's a song, if it's just music, if it's graffiti, if it's a sculpture, it doesn't matter. What you're doing is giving it a home to live in that's away from you. And that gives you the ability to kill the zombie. It gets it out of your brain. It gets it out of your head. It makes it stop eating. And you've become your own hero.
Wow. That's a really insightful way to look at pain and anger as far as painting the wall. I've never heard of that. And that is, there's a profound feeling to that as well, because you're also looking at every time that you overcame your anger and your frustration, your guilt, whatever you were feeling at that point. And there's such a meaning and the symbolism behind each one of those dots. And to me, that's just beautiful. And the way that you said to use the zombies, or use your altar to kill those zombies, it reminded me of when I was working on my first album, To Wilt and to Bloom. I was in a very dark mental state, and that was the most creative I think I've ever been to this day. I wrote that entire album lyric wise in a month. And it's the roughest work I'll ever put out, but I will stand to this day and say I think it's some of the most gritty and meaningful work I've ever put out, just because of how raw it was. Mm-hmm. And I agree with what you said. You have to give your pain a purpose, because if you don't, the pain repurposes you into its tool.
It becomes the zombie. It's in there and it eats your brain. That's all. That's all it knows how to do, and until you give it instruction.
I've never looked at it in the simplistic way of how we've talked about it. Not simplistic, you know what I mean, but just in broad strokes that way. It really is an eye opener for how you can approach it. I know this is already a lot longer than we probably planned on, but personally, I'm just having a great time talking to you.
I can talk about this. This is why I'm here. I can talk about this, and I'm willing to talk about this whenever, to whoever, for whatever purpose, whether it's to laugh at me, whether it's to criticize me, whether it's because you need help. It doesn't matter. You pick up, the messenger, you pick up the camera, you pick up the phone, and you call me. I have a reason to be here, and it's the music and the community and the passion that I was lacking, that somebody generously and unknowingly gave to me, and without hesitation. And it's because I was lucky enough to see that happen in myself. I could take that and find out where it came from and know who to thank, that I'm lucky to have found out that I can pass that on. And that is my purpose, is to pass that on. I'm in the grand scheme of things, not that important. It doesn't matter, but I have a purpose and I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to hear. I'm here to listen. I'm here to share the music. I'm here to admire the passion. I'm here to encourage the creation. I'm here to make people laugh, not only at themselves, but at my altar, because he's an asshole.
Absolutely.
And I have a job, and that's what I'm doing.
So, I know we're just continuing talking here, so I'm the worst host ever at this point.
You're fine. No, you're fine.
But so, where do you see yourself in the grand scheme of the community in a couple years from now? Would you like to still be doing what you're doing now? Would you like to be in a different spot?
Well, I would like, I will never walk away from the deck of many bands. As long as there are bands out there, I will make a series. They're only limited by the size of the printer. That's why it has to stop at 92 cards. And aside from the fact that when I mail these fuckers, this is 1 pound of cards. That's freaking expensive mailing to New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to have enough. I want to have enough to justify that creation. And I think in the grand scheme of things, this was kind of Vid's peace offering. And it was, he's thanking me for giving him a different kingdom. And saying, I'll leave you alone for a while. Here, have this. And as long as there is music out there, I'm being saved. But it's also giving me the ability to create a resource that somebody else can be saved. And that music in that deck is something that somebody needs to hear. I don't know who, I don't know what it is, I don't know which band, I don't know what song, but somewhere in that is something that someone somewhere out there needs to hear. And as long as that exists, so will I. So, that's what we're doing. But as far as long-term goals go, me and my dulcimer voice, my ultimate goal is to be the voice of a bad guy in a video game.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go.
I want to be the bad guy.
Dark side. You need to be dark side is what you need to be.
I could do it. I could do it. But I think, I don't know, the pipe dream, the dream of the music, of creating, hasn't gone away. I think the driving force has. But this is a good step for me, I think, in getting over the stage fright. And who knows where it's going to go? It's, just like somebody needs to hear the music. Maybe somebody's looking for a deep toned, corpse poet. It's, who knows?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I could start a world tour in a week. It's who knows?
You never know.
Yeah. But for now, I'm content. I'm doing what I love. I'm listening to what I love. I'm talking to people that I love. I'm discovering music that I love. I'm helping people that I love in any way I can, because I have a debt to repay. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here to do any of it. And that has become my deepest regret, is that it got so close that none of this would have existed a year ago. And I'm not going to let it get that dark again, ever.
I am the same way. I refuse to go back to being the way that I was just a year ago. Had you told me a year ago I would be putting myself on camera in this kind of fashion, not like a controlled fashion, but just a raw version of me. And had you told me I would be doing a mental health podcast, I would have laughed in your damn face. So I'd have been like, "What the hell? Who am I?" First of all, to even think about that, and then as I'd like to say progress and become hopefully a better version of myself through the year. I realized I wanted to, just like you, I want to be that outlet. You know, the message of my music, I've always said, is I don't promote going away, but I promote a way to deal with the thoughts of going away, because again, we can't ignore it. It's there. It's always there. There's that shadow in the corner that when you're sleeping, it's still there, and you can't get away from it. No matter what anybody says, there's no magic cure. You can obviously you can medicate, you can do all these things, but I feel as though if you're not talking about it actively to at least one person, it eats you up. And I say that, I think, from experience, because for a while I hid a lot of what I felt. Like I would talk to them in passing about some of the things I was dealing with, but I didn't go in depth. I didn't want to go beyond surface level, because then people start kind of looking at you as though you're almost like a freak.
The stigma. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just I don't know how to explain it anymore. It's just, had you told me a year ago I'd be doing this, like I said, I would have never believed it. And I'm truly honored to have you on here, because you've opened up my eyes already to a lot of things that could change as far as the way that I view things. And I think for the community as a whole, that I think you'll become a pillar. I really do. You already have, in a way, but I think you'll become a bigger pillar. And I think that people will hopefully get out of their shell more, just like as you and I have here, because it's not always easy. It's not, especially if you feel like you're not worthy of doing something, or you're not worthy of being on camera, because society puts these standards on you to feel a certain way.
If you want to talk about not feeling worthy, you have to look at that through my eyes for a minute. I have, at this moment right now, on my way to 184, I have 143 bands from around the world that know my name.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how worthy of that should I feel? Because that is my biggest issue right now, is that I have people that I consider heroes writing my email saying, "Thank you for this." And I don't know how to politely say, "Oh, hell no, it's me that owes the debt." And I graciously say, and put on my mask, and I say, "The honor is mine." That attention is debilitating, but in such a good way, because I know that they're providing me with the tools so that I can do exactly what we're doing here. Is we're giving somebody the opportunity to hear words that they needed to hear. That they're letting me create something that will give somebody somewhere the opportunity to hold in their hands the music that they needed to save their life. That's all I can ask for. And there is no gratitude that I can display to any of the bands that will ever contribute. There is no level of gratitude that will equal that sense of worth that you guys have given me by just saying, "I like what you're doing," because what I'm doing means so much to me, let alone what it might mean to somebody else. And that's all that matters. That's why, I'm not trying to demean myself. That's why I'm not important. I'm just a messenger. And I just hope that the message helps. That's all I can help for. That's all I can hope for. And it's the music that matters, and it's you guys. It's that community. I'll be as strong as you want me to be. But it's so hard to hear from you guys that I'm important. And it's such a weird feeling.
It is.
But in such a good way.
Yeah.
Because in that deck is an illustration of a zombie dying. And it's I'd rather it be them than me. And maybe it'll save somebody else too.
Wow. I don't know if I could think of a better way to end this tonight than that right there. But I would definitely love to have you on again, because I feel like you and me could talk for hours at this point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, do not hesitate. If anybody out there, if this makes the cut, if anybody out there needs to talk to somebody who they don't know, who sometimes feels safer to talk to, than a friend.
Yeah.
I can't say that I don't judge, but I only judge my friends, and typically it's only to gather something to joke about.
Absolutely. Ill-timed humor.
Yeah. When you find a stranger, they will become a friend, but when you find a stranger that you can talk to, and you can talk to me, it's the easiest solution to an immediate problem. It may not be a cure. It can be, but it may not be. But it will be, the first step that matters. Just like me getting on this damn camera. It only takes one step to get started.
Absolutely.
And that's all I ask for is, if you need somebody, to listen, give me a chance. I may not help, but you don't know. It might solve the problem. So all I can do is say, I'm here.
And the community knows that too, especially now. They know that you're here for people to reach out to, which is sorely needed, especially in the community that has kind of been cultivated with us. So it's really great to have that outlet. And, I'm going to put the link for the deck of many bands, but tell the listeners where they can find you.
Right now, the best place to find me is on Facebook. I am Geo Stough. I should have typed my last name, but oh well. You can find me in the Band Together group, as well as just searching my name. And if not, just ask any independent band out there. Odds are I've talked to them at least once. And you'll find me. And, I'm not hard to find. If you find music, I'll be there.
That is amazing. Geo, thank you so much for being on the first episode of this. And I'm going to have you back, hopefully sooner rather than later. Because like I said, we could probably make this a 4 or 5 parter just from the vibe that I get from us just shooting.
Anytime. If you need comic relief, if you need a PowerPoint presentation, if you need an army of dragons, it's all you got to do is ask. This is too important.
Absolutely.
I hope it helps. I really do.
Thank you.
You bet.
And with that, guys, this is the end of the very first episode, and I will see you down the line.
The righteous